Good evening, folks. I'm here again with another story. I hope you're not getting bored, isn't it? Telling your stories and stories and stories. You must be thinking, what type of storyteller has come? Sometimes he's terrifying us. Sometimes he's coming up with some laughable content, and sometimes he's lecturing us on different aspects of life. And now he's come with love. Basically, storytelling is an art, and I love to tell stories. My students all over the world, they know it very well also. Okay, storytelling has always been my forte. Today's story is a wonderful story, a beautiful story about love. We all know that this world requires love and nothing else. And so the story is a very heart touching story. Let's not beat around the bush and come to brass tacks. Histoire d'amour. True love stories never have endings. Very true to the core. The world was built out of love, and it is love that is keeping all of us going. At the end of the hustling and jostling of our daily lives, we find ourselves lonely and look out for a shoulder to rest and share our feelings. Though many egoistic individuals will differ with my point of view, but it is a fact. The protagonist of my story, James, was one such individual. I will not blame him for such an outburst and dislike for the opposite gender. It was circumstance that had brought him to this threshold of life. He had been jilted thrice and now has turned bitter as gall to the very word love, which does not exist according to him in any corner of the globe. He now vents out his anger very frequently on harlots of the town and openly proclaims that physical pleasure can easily be bought and one doesn't have to be in love to possess such privileges. He was in his 30s and his parents were quite concerned about him. When will he marry? Will he ever do? All these questions disturbed the tranquility of their minds. Day in and out, he immersed himself in his work at the office, the evenings in local bars, and the weekends with one new harlot he would pick up from any red light area. James worked as a consultant for an advertising agency. One fine evening he left office and was standing at the bus stop where he came across Cheryl, his classmate from school. Cheryl was his first crush, but he never ever had the courage to express his feelings to her. Now she looked extremely beautiful. Before he said anything, Cheryl smiled and exclaimed, "James, is that you?" His legs shivered, and words came mumbling and tumbling from his mouth in disbelief that she had recognized him after so many years. A new leaf, my dear friends. The conversation grew longer and it landed up in a cafe nearby. Cheryl too was not married and neither engaged. All at home were shocked as they saw their son land up in a sober state, that too early that evening. Things changed, and so his ghastly routine. Cheryl and James ultimately got married after a long friendship of 3 long years. James had at last found his lady love and was very happy. Life sometimes can be so loving and giving, and sometimes so ruthless. That's why people say life is so unpredictable. Cheryl would always complain of head swings and headaches. James took her to a doctor, and after proper diagnosis, it was found that she had a tumor which was cancerous in nature. James was as if struck with a thunderbolt. It was only a year that they were married. The doctor advised him to take her to Vellore for the operation. CMC, Christian Medical College. Without wasting time, he set out. The both held each other and cried all the way to the hospital. How could life be so cruel? James held her tightly in his arms and assured her that all would be well. Cheryl was admitted in the hospital and kept on medication for over a month. James remained 24/7 at her side, feeding her, telling her stories, occasionally trying to crack a joke to keep her spirits alive. It seemed they had lived a lifetime in that very month. Then one fine day, the doctor announced the day of the operation. James looked and hugged the love of his life before she was taken to the operation theatre. Tears rolled down their cheeks as they parted. The spectacle was too painful to behold. Hours later, she was pronounced dead. James still sits at the side of her grave, day in and day out, without budging, waiting for his Cheryl to return. Good night, my dear.